Effer questions what would happen if Atis isn't a dragon. Wouldn't a normal person die? Ellie knows Alejandro wouldn't care either way. That's just who he is. She's convinced that if this continues, there's no other way. They might have to kill the mage before Alejandro can expose him. Since Atis's magic is currently weak, he focuses on neutralizing Alejandro's attacks. He seeks to understand his opponent's reasons for creating Dragon's Nest. The Chosen One mocks the idea that he would disclose anything simply because he's asked. He suggests Atis should try asking again, after defeating him. That is if he survives. More magic is launched in the mage's direction. Sensing the danger, Atis conjures an ice wall to block what seems to be a physical attack. Despite his efforts, Alejandro's magic wands start shifting in mid-air, showing his ability to control them remotely. Atis tries to dodge but can't escape the onslaught. With his view blocked, Alejandro casually kicks down the ice wall. The mage fires off a burst of fire magic from behind another wall, hoping to land a hit. But his opponent appears behind him and lands a brutal kick to Atis's stomach, launching him through the air. Alejandro questions the mage's humanity, suggesting that even as a fake human, he's far too fragile. Meanwhile, Effer and Ellie flee the battlefield. The magic swordsman, clearly upset, demands to know why they're flying in the opposite direction. She insists they need to head straight to Alejandro. The wyvern questions what they're even supposed to do once they get there. Ellie reasons that the Chosen One will force Atis to transform, and if that happens, she'd rather end the dragon herself. If Alejandro's plan succeeds, everyone could die. Suddenly the friendly wyvern snaps, yelling how annoying it all is. Startling Ellie, Effer lashes out, criticizing her sister for always putting others first. She admits to being a coward. Even if someone like Atis dies, she'd rather look away. She doesn't even know him, and the dragon surely understood the risks. But what truly stings is seeing Ellie forced to stain her hands for others, something that leaves a lasting scar. Clenching her fists, Ellie fires back. She wants to know what Effer expects her to do. Staying locked away again, scared and useless, is not an option. This is the only thing she can do now, so she'll do it. Back at the battlefield, Alejandro now has Atis restrained with magic and chained to a wall. Alejandro has grown impatient. He demands honesty, questioning whether his opponent had any hidden reasons for coming here. Atis, barely conscious, states that this place should not exist, and Alejandro will gain nothing from it. Curious, he asks why. According to the mage, only dragons can control Dragon's Nest because a dragon's core is required to collect life force. Alejandro suspects the mage might be one and shares that suspicion. Atis gives a vague response and notes that the Dragon's Nest is still incomplete. He doesn't know what Alejandro is ultimately after. But whatever it is, it won't come easy. Frustrated, the Chosen One uses his magic to drag him to the edge of a high ledge, threatening to toss him off. He offers him two choices: snap his neck with a little extra pressure, or let go and watch him fall. He keeps pressing for the mage's trump card, calling this his final shot. And with that, the countdown begins. He ridicules Atis by asking if he is thinking of leveling up using the Dragon's Nest. He reveals there is a slight problem. The Dragon's Nest won't work, which means he won't be able to level up. He refers to the mage as Greater Dragon. The mage clarifies that he is not the one who's gathering life force right now, as he comments that the life force is gathering elsewhere. A massive surge of energy abruptly starts gathering elsewhere. Thunderstruck, he throws Atis back to the platform where he is standing and starts observing the energy burst. Atis is also surprised because he had never thought there would be another dragon beside him. Although he wasn't expecting it, he is glad that he was able to keep his identity safe. He wonders if was everything planned to bait a dragon, because Alejandro is a vicious schemer to create such an elaborate plan like this. Since it's dangerous, he is planning to get out and quickly inform everyone about this. However, he can't even lift a finger. Ellie comes rushing to the Chosen One to report the strange, unprecedented phenomenon, and informs him that there was a dragon that infiltrated the place on the other side of the building. She secretly whispers in Atis's ear that she is glad that he is safe. Alejandro admits that he was wrong for thinking his opponent is a dragon. Ellie suggests they should go and check it out. The Chosen One is certain that even if he goes to investigate, the dragon would be disguised in human form, making it impossible to identify. While wearing a sadistic smile, he says the dragon won't be able to level up with a broken dragon's nest anyway. He reveals he has made it so that all the bridges connecting to the dragon's nest would explode as soon as it begins to operate. And even the dragon won't be able to escape in its human form. Ellie wonders if that's why he isolated the area. He admits he'd capture the girl if she were a dragon, but with the dragon's nest broken, it's not worth the trouble and future repair costs. Alejandro shows him mercy for now because he can obtain something good to experiment on. Atis is perplexed upon hearing the word experiment, so he repeats it, hoping to get an answer from him. While wearing the same sadistic smile, he says he is sorry if he gave him some hope that he would be kept alive. He considered the living conditions poor and thought it would be a shame to waste any resources. Out of the blue, Ellie remarks what a shame. Alejandro, slightly confused, asks her what is she talking about. She clarifies that she had no idea this dragon's nest was broken. She further explains that she felt a sense of disharmony ever since Atis arrived, so she thought maybe he would be the one to do it. And maybe even help fix this place. Alejandro guesses Ellie is suggesting he assign a job to a spy of Light of Order. He found the idea appealing. Since the mage couldn't escape anyway, they might as well put her to use. He leaves Atis to her and then leaves. Sometime later, Atis opens his eyes to find himself on the back of Ellie. She informs him that they would be working together for a while, so he could call her Ellie. She then demands Atis, or more accurately, Ariana Stia, to tell her his real name, because he has already been discovered. Atis finally tells her his real name and is okay with her calling him Atis. Sometime later, Ellie is giving him a piggyback ride, which he is embarrassed about. She reveals swordsmen use force energy, so it doesn't take much effort to lift heavy things. She assumes he is questioning such trivial questions because he is feeling uncomfortable. He is flustered, getting a piggybacked ride from a lady confusing her. He then decides to walk because he can't bear the embarrassment. Before she goes to her room, he thanks her for the help earlier. However, she tells him that he shouldn't be thanking her, because she was thinking of killing him when she found out he was a dragon. He keeps up the act of not being a dragon and points out that Ellie saw the dragon somewhere else. She tells him to stop trying to feign ignorance. She further adds that he gathered a great amount of life force. She guesses that it wasn't by normal means, which means it was gathered through the dungeons. Before he can even raise a question, Ellie reveals she can feel the subtle flow of life force, and she was able to learn more while carrying him on the way here. He is thinking that he needs to figure out who's in charge before deciding to cooperate with her. She remarks there's no one here, and the walls are thick. His level is 35 and her level is 45, and because a magic swordsman requires a magic tool to use force, she is nothing but a regular human without one. She claims she doesn't have a sword or even a piece of metal, and believes that it would be easy for a wandless mage like him to kill her. But before she can elaborate, he tells her to get a hold of herself. While holding her arms, he inquires her if Alejandro is making her extract information. Dragon's Nest is something evil created by greedy greater dragons. He assumes she is being tricked by the Chosen One. Ellie attempts to explain herself, but he doesn't even pay her any attention. He states that he was hiding his true identity by being in the human form. Instead of keeping his secret and helping him out, they should face Alejandro. Suddenly, Effer charges at Atis, flinging him a few yards away. Just because he was shouting at Ellie, he is surprised to see a dragon. She immediately concludes she must be the dragon that operated Dragon's Nest earlier, but soon realizes Effer is a wyvern looking at her wings. Meanwhile, Ellie scolds her for not listening to her, as she had instructed her to hide, but she didn't. The wyvern remarks she rushed out because he was yelling at her older sister. Ellie points out that her threat implied she wouldn't mind if he exposed her identity. Since he shares their goal, they decide to let him in on it. The magic swordsman explains that Effer was responsible for operating Dragon's Nest and pretending to be a dragon in place of him. And thanks to her wyvern friend, Alejandro's suspicions of him have disappeared. The wyvern is proud of herself. Inside, she praises herself for being a genius talking wyvern that possesses a dragon core. He suddenly starts calling Effer by her given name, and then explains that he has heard so much about her from one of his acquaintances. That person was truly grateful to her because she helped him hide his identity. That isn't all. He even heard that she loaned him a whopping sum of 300x. The terrifying memories start flooding back to her. She realizes he is talking about Han-Bin. Meanwhile, the Valkyrian is engaged in something very intense that is making him question why things turned out this way. He is plunging something down while enunciating it to go down. It turns out he's flushing the toilet manually since it's the high-grade automatic toilet, and flushing mechanics requires level 12. In the process, some bits of the waste splash into his eye, causing him to scream in horror. It's been 3 days since Atis left for his mission, and since then their house has turned into a place of living hell. Nothing was going his way. The water spout wasn't working because it required someone of at least level 8. He even destroyed the fridge to get some clean water, because to use the fridge one has to be level 8. Han-Bin was no different from a primitive man in that place. He couldn't even cook if he wanted to, because cooking burners were also restricted for those below level 8. Moreover, he didn't even have money to go to a restaurant, because a top-grade safe required level 33 to use, and without money, he wouldn't be able to buy anything. To make money, he went straight to the Hunters Guild to accept requests, but his application was denied because based on the Hunter Guild's rules, a personal guard cannot receive missions without the consent of their master. After rejecting his mission request, the receptionist tells him that she understands his situation, and she's looking to see if there are any jobs here for him, but their policy concerning guards is a bit strict, requiring extensive background checks and prior experience in security roles. Han-Bin startles her by shaking the entire guild with his raw power and convinces her to assign him a mission. She reveals it will be a personal favor, and the reward won't be big. He claims it doesn't matter, he wants to make money. The receptionist wants this to be a secret between them and explains that this is something that happened a week ago. She reveals she bought some new clothes to wear for a party, but she couldn't find them. After shuffling through her whole room, she found something nasty, a golden luminous hair. He claims he can't do much with the criminal's hair. While pointing at Emil's picture, she remarks there's only one person who would barge into her room and steal her clothes, her older brother. He looks at Emil's photo and realizes that the receptionist's prime suspect is the priest from Order of Light, Emil. The receptionist explains Emil was jabbering about some sort of secret undercover mission, and in the process, he also touched her makeup. The receptionist wants him to track down Emil, get her clothes back, and burn him up. He agrees to do what he can do. He feels relieved, thinking he was lucky to finally get a mission. He convinces her, but remains pessimistic, wondering where in the world Emil could be. If Emil is undercover, tracking him down would be nearly impossible. He realizes he needs some sort of lead to begin the search. Suddenly, the system asks him if he would like to initiate his tracking skill using genetic information. Han-Bin stumbles upon a tracking skill he's had for ages, but never bothered to check until now. Though he is thankful that his guideline is working, for now at least, he is eager to use it to find a Tease, and now in the wilderness, he commands the guideline to start, and it starts activating tracking skills using genetic transformation. The guideline identifies the life force as prana and scans the area, detecting 312 sources. It then filters for similar traits and narrows it down to 24 individuals. Lastly, it searches for individuals with similar genetic features and finds one individual. After the tracking process is complete, the guideline fails to give him an exact location of a Tease, revealing that the mage is on the move. The wooden stick he vertically placed on the ground, hoping it would point in the right direction, ultimately fell. After failing miserably, he considers giving up. Elsewhere in some cave, a beastman appears to be brutally assaulting Emil, demanding Emil reveal what he received from the spy. Emil, with his bruised face, claims that he doesn't know anything. The beastman wants Emil to be honest because they have already found out about Hendy being a spy. He points out that Alejandro is aware of Emil's alliance with Hendy. Emil reveals that he now knows that the artificial guideline has a serious side effect. While tightly holding Emil's jaw, the beastman threatens to rip apart his mouth if he doesn't speak. A man with misaligned eyes arrives and commands the beastman to stop. The beastman moves away, while Emil is wondering who this person is. The mysterious man admits he's sad Emil doesn't recognize him, but realizes that it makes sense. He's been hidden away at Dragon's Nest, doing research all this time. He reveals he is the creator of the artificial guideline and similar magical tools. Emil snaps at him for committing blasphemy, changing the humans that were created by Altea, the goddess of light, into foul things, and then calling them products. The man becomes enraged upon hearing Emil label his actions as foul. He gets up really close to Emil and calls him uncivilized because of his statement, and then states that the true value of humans doesn't lie in appearance. The insane man points out Emil's level 45 status, saying it's no small feat, and questions if he did it just to be acknowledged as human, as he is expressing his opinion on how a human's worth lies in their level. And a guideline helps to realize that worth. He removes the clothing that was covering his body, and is revealed to be a humanoid creature with insect-like features. He calls this experimentation a blessing since it helps individuals to be transformed into a more efficient form. Emil dismisses his words as nonsense, arguing that if worthless beings like him were to grow stronger, does he even realize the big sacrifice it would require? According to the creepy man, his endeavors are not different from what the world is like now. Plus, a genuine artificial guideline is about to be completed. The madman realizes that he has said too much, and remarks he wanted to try to use a high-leveled live body that retained its consciousness. But since it won't be that easy, he is going to use his skill, Ant Eelworm. Ant Eelworm enters the body through the nose and eats up the brain. By doing that, the host's willpower decreases, making it easier to control them. Emil's life flashes before his eyes. He wonders if this is the end, and wishes he could warn the Order of Light before he dies. Suddenly, a sword drilling the cave through the wall takes the madman out of surprise, as some of the debris hits him, making him unconscious. Emil witnesses Han-Bin coming out of the wall and wonders what he is doing here. The other experiments, including the Beastman, are surprised to see a Valterian warrior. The Sword King informs Emil that he was tasked to bring him back. Emil, on the other hand, believes the Order of Light has sent the Valterian warrior to rescue him. Han-Bin feels relieved that Emil isn't wearing his sister's clothes after all, which is what he'd expected before he got there. The Beastman abruptly charges at Han-Bin, aiming to crush him in the contest of brutish strength. However, he isn't able to harm the Valterian warrior. Han-Bin wonders what kind of creation is forcing a fight with him, and even the guideline doesn't help him. It shows the Beastmen as level 56, and reveals the monster species as humans, but with 2 question marks in between the words. In the end, he concludes the Beastman is not a monster, but a human, because monsters wouldn't know what Valterra is. He's more worried about how to talk to the Beastmen and the others to get information, all while keeping up the act of being a Valterian warrior. The level 55 Lizardman also ambushes, striking the otherworldly Sword King by wagging his tail. The Beastmen claim that even a real Valterra warrior wouldn't be able to beat them. Han-Bin is now convinced that these things attacking him are humans. He then remembers learning that Latna had many intelligent subspecies. He guesses they might be beast people, though there are no beast people in Latna. Han-Bin hasn't completely gotten used to living here. He tries to not show any racial discrimination but doesn't understand why are these beast people angry at him. He is still floating in the air from the Lizardman's attack. The beast people then use an attack combination of Fierce Tiger Palm and Death Serpent Palm, and fling him miles away with sheer force. The beast people explain that they are punishing him because he is prancing around pretending to be a Valterra warrior when he is only level 5. Seeing him still breathing, the Lizardman wonders if they held back their strength. The Beastman calls Han-Bin the self-proclaimed Valterra and asks him if he wants to say something. They offer to let him live if he entertains them. Han-Bin suddenly starts speaking. Shocking Beastman. While making a sad face, he remarks that he never thought that the cave was their home, and he didn't mean to make a hole in it. He claims to understand their frustration since a stranger came and messed up their house. He then shares his memory of how a hell dog destroyed his house, feeling empathy for the beast people who are going through the same ordeal. He also admits he doesn't know what the yellow-haired man did wrong, but plans to take him back after repairing their house. Emil's jaw drops to see the Valterian warrior negotiate with the beast people. Seeing something so extraordinary, Emil learns that not all Valterra warriors are the same. Realizing Han-Bin doesn't know the beast people's true identity, Emil suddenly shouts that they aren't human and urges him to take a closer look. As the Valterian warrior is trying to process what is Emil trying to say, one of the beastmen attempts to crush him with his mere strength. Emil's words continue to echo in Atis's mind, as he seemingly repeats the words Emil said. The beastmen claim that they don't know what Han-Bin is, but it makes them want to eat him. Han-Bin notices that the monster's level went up and the name changed because, to him, the monster now appears as a level 62 species. The lizard man jumps him from behind, before whispering in his ear that the forms aren't the only thing that changes in them. The lizard man reveals that it is feeling as if its humanity is slowly disappearing. Han-Bin is still processing Emil's words about the beast people losing their humanity. The lizard man throws a punch at him, which he somehow manages to contain. He finally realizes what Emil was trying to convey. Meanwhile, Emil, spectating from some distance, blames himself because he got caught, and Han-Bin had to come to rescue him. The man with insect-like features, the culprit behind the experiments, states that it's too late. He explains that once an experiment runs wild, it won't be any different from an otherworlder. A Latnian with an artificial guideline that kills another Latnian will go berserk. They are as strong as boss monsters. The beast people transform into colossal-sized threats. However, Han-Bin is calm and collected despite the discovery. He slashes his longsword with such force that the ground cracks apart in two, wiping everything in sight. Later, Han-Bin places flowers and a few of his belongings at Emil's grave, believing he also got wiped caught in his attack. He regrets using too much force and thinks Emil could have lived if he had been a little weaker. When he hears the crashing sound, he looks behind, only to find Emil and the creepy madman, who has barely escaped through an ant tunnel. Emil comes rushing to his savior, thanking his savior. As he prepares to head home, Emil informs him that Alejandro found out about everything, and Atis might be in danger right now, and Emil blames himself for it. Han-Bin, looking determined to rescue his friend, asks Emil where is the dragon's nest. Alejandro is testing out artificial guideline, experimenting it on a test subject. The man leading this operation, likely a mage, educates him that the only thing the artificial guideline can absorb is experience points. Since life force contains experience points in life energy, the excess life energy will kill the person without a dragon's core. To Alejandro, it doesn't matter, they are only testing to see if Dragon's Nest will operate properly. The mage serving him increases the life force after hearing his boss out. The operation fails, as the test subject starts bending out of shape. Alejandro is thinking that if they want to complete a genuine artificial guideline, they will need a humanoid guideline, a dragon core, and a working dragon's nest to infuse massive amounts of life force into the dragon's core. Rebuilding the destroyed dragon's nest has been completed, but it has started to shut down after starting up recently, and he is sure there aren't any problems with the Great Dragon's blueprints. The test subject, from across the room, tries to attack Alejandro, but before it can land a hit, the Chosen One swiftly uses his magic wand to control the hose and capture the test subject. Alejandro is convinced there must be another key needed to operate it. He orders the mage to call the ant, as he wants to discuss something with him. The mage informs him that the ant went to procure some testing materials a few days ago, and they haven't heard anything from him since then. He guesses the testing materials must be priest meal, and the mage verifies it. The mage is positive that the ant left with 2 test subjects around level 60s with tracking abilities. Inside, he thinks a level 60 testing subject is similar in power to a dungeon boss, and wonders why isn't the ant back. He guesses that someone who can face the 2 of them, referring to the beast people, must be a heresy inquisitor, though he isn't sure if that's the case. He is frustrated because things are getting complicated. He commands the mage to gather the test subjects and have them guard the deepest basement. Alejandro has left the mage stunned, because in the deepest basement lies the life force fusion. He wants all test subjects to guard the force fusion. Effer recalls it's been a week since Itis came to the dragon's nest. In that time, he and Ellie have been continuously investigating every corner of the dragon's nest. Being a dragon, he knows a lot about dragon's nest, and this seems to have relieved the magic swordsman somewhat. But since Effer is a wyvern with a large body, she hasn't been able to help them out at all. She has come to accept that she can't help them, since she isn't even able to enter, which is why she hasn't talked much with Ellie lately. She is feeling lonely because she has been left all alone, though she isn't free all the time, as she is busy trying to complete her dragon core. She is determined to humiliate Itis once she finishes, and thinks that after she has humiliated him, Ellie will look differently at her, and she is completely going to ignore her before then. The magic swordsman surprises her younger sister when she comes out of a vent. Overjoyed to see the person she adores, she expresses that she had a good feeling about today. Perhaps it's because her dragon's core is developing a lot. The wyvern goes quiet when she finds her worried more about him, because he has sustained an injury. Ellie is tired of hearing him compare himself to hunters all the time, making him apologize. Effer is pouting seeing him, a dragon, being cared for by her sister. Ellie informs her that they didn't find anything special today either on their exploration. While wearing a smile, the wyvern ridicules him by reminding him that he claimed something like dragon's nest is broken. He admits saying it, but he was wrong because this dragon's nest isn't broken. He reveals the reason the dragon's nest isn't working is because Effer's dragon core is the key to operating it. He reminds her about the time when she revealed she got hit by blasts of life force when she first tried to escape. That was when her newly created dragon's core became registered as the key for the dragon's nest. But her dragon's core isn't complete, and although she can materialize life force, she still can't absorb it. That's why she wasn't able to absorb the life force here, and also the reason why it looks as if dragon's nest is broken. Discovering her actual worth, she comments since she is the most important key to solving all the problems, then that means it's up to her to hurry and complete her dragon core, so that she can be the life force. Ellie suddenly calls for this plan to stop. Much to Effer's surprise, who is ready to play the hero, he reveals there's one more way to complete Dragon's Nest. She explains they plan to go down the life force fusion at the heart of Dragon's Nest down in the basement, and directly absorb the life force. Ellie plans to go down and look for a fusion with him. Just as Effer is about to plead, the ground suddenly starts shaking. Since Atise, Ellie and Effer are a few levels above the ground level, they try to look down to assess the gravity of the situation. They find a test subject emerging from the underground testing lab. The level 51 test subject seems to be a distorted chimera, appearing with a chaotic blend of 2 faces, massive creepy eyes, and inhumane strength, scaring everyone working on the dragon's nest with its gross appearance. Atise's attempt to inflict damage fails, due to the distance between them fails. Ellie guesses the test subject was trying to escape judging by how he destroyed and came out of the ground. She tells him, who's wondering if there are any hunters waiting below, that any hunters down there would be under level 40. Being level 45, he is closest to the test subject's level. He thinks there is a 6-level difference between them, and attacking from a distance doesn't work at all. He requests Effer take him up in the air, intending to use fire magic to fight the test subject. However, driven by jealousy, the wyvern takes a flight by herself, believing she could take on the test subject without needing any help from him. On the ground level, the test subject has wreaked havoc. When he is about to eat Kalendor, who is apparently stuck under a wooden dolly, Effer attacks it from the air with magic. The test subject spots Effer and calls her bird meat, which makes her angry. Effer thinks that if it's about attacking the test subject from the air, then she doesn't need Atise's fire magic, she could handle it by herself, even if it's a level 51 monster. The test subject throws a rock at her, but she barely manages to dodge it. Just when she clocks that the speed of rocks coming at her is fast, she nearly gets hit by another boulder. She appears to be confident about her flying ability. After evading several of the test subject's attempts to bring her down, she retaliates with a burst of magic. The test subject uses the metal plate on its arm to cover its body from Effer's intense magic, and continues to slowly walk forward. Eventually, he grabs Effer by the neck, which even the wyvern herself is surprised about. Alejandro is planning on going outside to investigate the disappearance of the ant and the other test subjects. It appears that he had asked one of his ladies-in-waiting to bring him the dagger artifact, and she has brought it before him. The lady-in-waiting is surprised by the fact that he is thinking of taking the artifact, something he has never done before. He comments that one never knows what might happen. The lady-in-waiting is even more stunned hearing Alejandro say something like that. The Chosen One speaks up about how they have become entangled with either the Heresy Inquisitors or some other annoying group. He plans on taking care of them, so they won't bother him from completing their work. She demands to know what should they do when the dragon appears while he is gone. He doesn't want her to worry, because he has already taken care of that. Breathing heavily, the mage from earlier storms into Alejandro's room to inform him that a test subject has appeared outside. Alejandro casually flings the dagger in the mage's stomach without even looking at him. Once the mage is down, he commands the lady-in-waiting to go down to the basement and check the test subjects. The lady-in-waiting suggests it would be better if he went down to see for himself. He wishes that he had one more body since the situation here requires his attention as well. Meanwhile, Effer breaks free from the test subject's grasp and captures him with her claws. Ellie shouts at her to calm her down. Seeing her flying straight towards the horizon, Atis realizes that she is thinking of using Dragon's Nest. Effer soars higher, striving to alter her fate and hopefully defeat the test subject. When she reaches the Dragon's Nest's upper layer, the test subject explodes inside out, and the atmosphere turns into dust. Worried about Effer, Ellie calls her several times. The wyvern spreads her wings, revealing herself as she sweeps away the dust and smoke with a burst of wind. Overjoyed, she goes to her sister to inform her about her victory. However, out of nowhere, Ellie slaps her in the face and then instructs her to leave. The wyvern is shocked. Getting slapped by her big sister was something she had never expected. She witnesses even more surprises when they are ambushed by the Chosen One. He reveals that though they were planning on running away since she begged him to not kill the wyvern, he admits that he had never expected a wyvern that has a dragon core. He wants to know if they were thinking of absorbing the life force within the dragon's nest using Effer's core. Following this question, he reminds Ellie that he mentioned there will be no second chances. Soon after, Atisa also joins the battle. He covers Effer with his fire magic while she attempts to evade the danger. Alejandro effortlessly blocks his attack with his dagger artifacts. He wonders if his opponent has already won Ellie over to his side as well. The magic swordsman attempts to jump him from behind. However, he is still able to see through her attack and blocks it without even moving or turning his body, though he compliments her for her speed. Ellie also shouts at Effer as she wants to see her leave. It would be over if she gets caught. Seeing that there's no other option, initially reluctant Effer finally decides to go with what her friends are saying. Once she is practically out of sight, Atis and Ellie charge at Alejandro, intending to finish him once and for all. However, the Chosen One vanishes into the thin air and teleports before the wyvern. Elsewhere, Han-Bin is fighting monsters in a rocky mountain terrain and is accompanied by Emil. They came all the way here because they heard Dragon's Nest was in the Rocky Mountains. The problem is, all the mountains look the same to our Valtirian warrior. Emil wants him to look carefully, because this place similar to Han-Bin's hometown. The Sword King ridicules him, because this is all because of a spy who doesn't even know the location of the enemy. Emil reminds him of his status as a high-ranking priest. If he goes into enemy territory, then who's supposed to make the report? Besides, it couldn't be helped since he is the secret contact on the outside. Han-Bin asks the ant if they are on the correct way. The ant has transformed into a complete giant ant, and isn't able to understand human speech anymore. Emil feels that it would be impossible to find the dragon's nest like this. He suggests they should go back to the Order of Light and get some soldiers. Emil starts freaking out when he notices the Valtirian warrior isn't listening to him and is relaxing feeding the ant. Han-Bin believes that if it's something that reminds the ant of its home, then it might take them there. Emil reminds him that this thing was originally a human. Why the hell would eating grass remind him of his home? Emil assumes it may be true that the ant didn't get any report of Atis's death, but wants him to think about what the mage could be going through while he is fooling around like this. Although he tried to knock some sense into Han-Bin, Emil is aware that this isn't something he should be saying since he isn't responsible for it. After reflecting on his time with Atis, he reveals he isn't mad at Emil. He says that he warned the mage that he could die if he went. He treated him like he was weak, though he wasn't entirely wrong. In the end, he was right. Looking back, he realizes he was making excuses since he would be the one who would be having a hard time if Atis wasn't here. When Emil giggles, Han-Bin asks him what's so funny. Emil explains that he thought Valteras were barbarians who loved blood and guts. He never expected that the Valtera warriors could worry about their companions. This makes the Valtirian quite different from what the rumors say. Heavily panicking, he remarks on what Emil means by worry because to him blood and guts are best. Out of the blue, they hear a loud lightning sound from a distance. Startled by the noise, Emil deduces that it must be a swordsman. He explains that if a magic swordsman's skill is visible from such a distance, it must be Alejandro. Emil thinks they can finally go back to the order and bring back troops. When he looks behind, he finds Han-Bin in a crouching position. He is attempting to gain the momentum to jump to the battlefield as quickly as possible.